So, where we left off was I had just had a great night with Borja and all his friends, and then I had to get up at the crack of dawn and fly from Madrid to Santiago. Yes, I flew to Santiago, where I actually wanted to finish my pilgrimage. But I thought it was good because I figured once I got there, I wouldn't have to do anything crazy to leave. I was just there, and I had to take my plane and go home. So I got there like 9. I had to take a bus to Lugo. I had to take another bus to Sarria, and then finally, I got to Sarria, which is where I actually started my pilgrimage, and 115-ish kilometers away, and I was like, oh, finally. So I get there, and I had written out directions on how to navigate to the nearest church because I still needed to get my pilgrim's passport or credential, which is really like what you use to prove that you actually walked the amount of miles that you're saying you walked, you know? And apparently it derives, like it originated from back when they were lords of the land and you had to get permission to cross the land to take this pilgrimage. And if not, you had to pay a toll. So you would have this passport that like literally said, this man's allowed to cross my land, signed Lord Burberry or whatever. So yeah, that was pretty cool. And I was like, well, I want this because I wanted to get the Compostela. I wanted to get the official church document in Santiago once I finished. So and you have to get it at like a church or a monastery. So I, was like wandering around. I just started following this guy. He had a seashell on his backpack, and that's the sign, this like symbol of a pilgrim. So I was like, well, he must be going somewhere I need to go. I eventually caught up to him, and he helped me ask for directions and got me to the church. So I got to the church, and of course it was closed, and I was like, well, what the heck? So then I saw like these like yellow arrows everywhere. I was like, well, I feel like I should follow these. So I followed them because I just assumed that they were the Camino. I don't know why, but I ended up coming up against a monastery, and it too was closed. I was like, what the heck? And then I walked a little bit past it, and there was a second door, and I walked in, and I was like, can I get a credential here? Can I get my passport? And they were like, yes. And I was so happy. So yeah, I went in there. I got my first stamp. They were like, this is what you got to do. You got to get at least 2 stamps a day to prove that you did it from Sarria. And I was so happy when I left that office. I like cried. I went into this. They had the most beautiful graveyard. And I just went in there, and I don't know, it was just like a really emotional thing because like I was just like carrying, I had my grandpa's handkerchief on my backpack. I carried his picture with me the whole time, and it just like this goal that I had made just like became real. I was like, I'm really doing this, and I was so excited and just so emotional. Like, I feel like such a wimp, but it was just like really overcoming. So yeah, I started my pilgrimage like at 1:15 in the afternoon, and I made my merry way. Because apparently the yellow arrows are a huge symbol of the Camino, and they're everywhere, and they show you where to go. And I was like, well, this is great because Borja was like, you're gonna get lost, I'm gonna come with you. And I was like, it's like midnight, you can't get your stuff together to leave the house at 4:30 and come with me. Sorry. Plus, I wanted to do it on my own. So, and I didn't get lost, so ha. So I walked like all day, and I was like, well, I don't know where I'm going to stop. And this one guy was like, well, you should probably stop in Portomarin, which is 21 kilometers. I was like, well, we'll see how that goes. So, I just like strolled, and there, like the land, it's just so different up north. It's like a completely different country. It's so green. It's so beautiful. There's just pastures and farmland and valleys, just green. It was like, it's so amazing. So I just like had a great time. Like I just had so much to look at. Like a lot of people were like, do you listen to an iPod? No, I didn't have anything. I just took a lot of pictures and sang a lot of songs to myself. But it was really crazy because I experienced like every type of weather possible in one day. Like the first thing I did was I had to climb up this big hill, and I was like hot, so I like took my clothes off, and I was like, oh. I get to the top of the hill, it's like freezing cold. And I was like, okay, so I put my stuff back on, I'm like, oh. Then it gets like really windy, so it gets even colder, and I'm like bundled up like this. Then it gets hot again, so I'm like unzipping all my stuff and just like trying to get by. without having to take all my stuff off, because I have to take my backpack off every time I take off a jacket. Then yeah, it started to rain, and I was like, shoot. So I like get out my little rain cover thing for my backpack, put it on, and then of course it like stops raining. And I was like, well. So then I keep walking. Yeah, then I get hailed on. Like I was like, oh my god. I was like, it looks like it's gonna rain again. So I just like make sure I like, I'm like in the forest. So I'm like, okay, well I should be like okay, and I have a poncho and whatever. And then I like look at the ground and there's like pieces of hail. I was like, is this really happening right now? The only thing I did not experience was snow. That's all I didn't experience. So it was a pretty interesting first day. And, I just like ate my little bocadillo by myself. I bought my shell to put on my backpack because I was like, I want this shell. I want to be just like everyone else. I want everyone to know that I'm a pilgrim, even though everyone on this trail is a pilgrim. But so then I got to Portomarin. I just decided to stop there, and at like 8 o'clock, and I went to, they have like pilgrim's mass in every city, and I went to that, and then everyone was like, you don't have a place to stay yet? And I was like, yeah, but it's like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. It was like still bright out. I also got adopted by a Canadian and Dutch couple from Holland that same day. I love these people. They were so nice. They're like, oh, you're by yourself. They're so nice. They're like, oh, can we sit with you? They like gave me like cheese and crackers. That was the Canadian couple who I met earlier. They were so nice. They started from the beginning. I was like, good for you. Good for you. That's awesome. So, but yeah, so finally, like, I was trudging around town. I was tired. It was started to rain, and I just came up to this place, and I was like, do you have a free space? Because all the hostels had been closed. And Liddy was like, yeah. So I was like, okay. She's like, all we have are double beds. And I was like, I don't care. So I had my own private bed my first night, and I was super excited. My own bathroom, and breakfast was included. I was super excited, and it was kind of a good way to just like get, to start my trip, to like really like get a good night's sleep, because I got 2 hours of sleep the night before. And sleeping on trains and buses and planes doesn't count. So that's day one on the Camino, 21 kilometers in.